YouTube. This is Tired Metalhead Weatherman. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have had a good hump day. Well, of course, given the situation, everything's really been going down in the tropics, so we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into that. Actually, we're gonna do things at a little bit of a change of pace. We're actually gonna go over to the Eastern Pacific and look at Hurricane K here. And there's also something I would like to clarify here, something that's been brought to my attention as we take a look at the satellite of Hurricane K here. Very nice structure, by the way. Got that signature buzzsaw look to it. This whole piece of land right here is not Cabo San Lucas like I've been calling it. Oh, wow. I can't believe I made that mistake. I've looked at this area a bunch of times. Only this bottom piece right here is Cabo San Lucas. This is technically referred to as Baja, California, but this is not a part of the state of California. This is like a little free state in Mexico. So to anyone from there that I could have possibly offended, I'm sorry. There's a lot of different lands that I try to keep up with here, and this is also my first year doing this channel. So if I do botch your area, please understand that there was no harm intended. So that out the way, we'll look at what we have going on with Hurricane K here right now, as it looks to make a very, razor thin close pass to Baja here. We can see that eye wall is really starting to mature nicely. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think this was actually expected to be just short of Category 2, but it has really gotten its act together over the last 12 to 24 hours. So no surprises there. We're getting we're getting a good bit of feeder bands actually starting to hit around Cabo San Lucas and the southern parts of the Baja here. So there is a worry for some potential tropical tornadoes here. But beyond that, I think storm surge is also going to be a pretty big deal, especially with the direction that this thing and the angle that this thing is coming in. If you just happen to be right about here, I think just to the north of Cabo, you guys might have I would expect maybe the highest storm surge based off how the winds are moving with this storm. And then you may even get a little bit of activity as this passes on the backside here. I think, if anything, though, you might get a little bit of action. The wind may push the water back out to sea. We'll have to see what it does from this point. Move this along here. We still don't have any models indicating a landfall, so to speak. We do have, however, have a hurricane warning that's just been issued for parts of the west central Baja here. The rest of the areas outlined in the blue here are tropical storm warnings, and we have a tropical storm watch for the northern parts of the Baja, even reaching towards the Baja and this is gonna be awkward to say, the actual U.S. state of California and Baja, California. Yeah, that's making my head spin. I'm gonna stop talking about that. But as far as intensity is concerned, I don't see this getting too much stronger as of right now. We'll go ahead and look at the spaghetti models as a quick way to maybe gauge what our models might be picking up here on their most recent sounding. Yeah, if anything, this is going to begin to go on a weakening trend pretty fast, because once we get past the central part of the Baja, apparently the waters really seem to cool off a bit, and at that point, I don't see too many of these. I don't see this maintaining Category 2. If anything, it's going to drop off very quickly. In fact, there's not a single model that tries to strengthen it any further. So I expect this to fall off pretty quick, but I do think it will leave some impacts for the Baja, and then it might loop. Then, interestingly enough, the path actually has it looking like it's going to take a loop. Whether it does or doesn't do that, I could, interestingly enough, result in rainy conditions for Southern California in the U.S. And this could be a key factor in maybe helping some of the this very wildfire prone area, which is good news in my opinion. Only thing is, we don't want that rain falling too much at once, because anywhere that wildfires have occurred, you can have these mud flows, and you can have these ash. You can have ash in there. I forget the exact name of them right now. I'm kind of drawing blank. I'll have to look it up. I'll probably come back to you on that for a video tomorrow. But that's what we have going on with K right now. Now we go ahead and take a look at some of the new developments with Danielle and Earl. Okay, so we have Earl now looking like it's right at the cusp of being a Cat 2 storm. We have it at 90 miles an hour, and recently the max predicted wind speed is now 130 miles an hour, which would make it a Category 4 should it reach this point. I see no reason as to why it wouldn't. It's in a very favorable environment, and this really looks like it's starting to mature now. You can really start to see that eye wall start to open up and clear out now. You're seeing a lot less cloud cover over that central part of circulation. You're seeing that buzzsaw pattern starting to take shape. This is a very small storm, by the way. So smaller storms tend to strengthen faster as well. That being said, let's go down and take a look at the path. Nothing really changing here. Makes a close pass to Bermuda, but it looks like Bermuda will be spared. And interestingly enough, by Saturday, this becomes a post-tropical hurricane. How about that? But I think by early Saturday morning, and we're talking in Atlantic Standard Time, of course, this looks like it starts to lose its tropical identity altogether. So that being said, we're passing pretty far to the east. I do expect increased surf and rip currents around Bermuda, but beyond that, I don't expect too much from this as far as major land impacts. I just hope that you don't happen to be a ship that is caught in the path. Change course immediately. That's all I would say. Alright. So let's go ahead and take a look at the spaghetti models for intensity. Kind of see what's going on with that. We pretty much know the path here. But beyond that, it's no real surprises here. Every, almost, well, not every, but almost, maybe I'd say, of these, I'm trying to give a rough percentage here. But I think about maybe 6 or 7 of these models at least have it pushing up towards Category 4 strength. One of these has it maxing out at about 125 knots, so that's a pretty considerable Category 4. But it quickly will reach its peak, I think, within the next 48, maybe 60 hours, and then from that point, it will start to trend downward as it gets into colder waters. And again, pretty much nothing going there. It's just going to pretty much remain out in sea and probably just fade out without causing too much trouble, which is the kind of storms that we like if we're going to have these at all. So now let's get to another interesting one, and that is Danielle. Because the path on Danielle, like I've been watching this storm a lot, especially on the path, and also it's incredible to see how this storm is also holding its strength together. Again, it's a weak storm. It's a small storm, so it's not quite. That's an interesting satellite imagery, but despite its eye wall trying to fall apart, it looks like it's just holding it together pretty nicely. especially given the environment that it's in. Now, the environment's going to become less favorable shortly, so I don't expect this to stay tropical at all by any means. I think, oh, excuse me, I think by tomorrow, honestly, we're going to become post tropical and probably lose our hurricane status. But look at this pathway here. It takes a little loop de loop here, and then we're starting to increase confidence here that Spain and Portugal here could be in play here. This would be at even though this is post tropical, it would have tropical depression strength winds. I mean, it would still bring increased seas, albeit the surf wouldn't be super high. It still will bring its fair share of impacts, and maybe even cause some tropical tornadoes. You can never rule it out within landfalling tropical or post-tropical system. And then it could get caught up in some kind of front or some kind of frontal boundary and kind of amplify that. So there's a bunch of different variables that go into play. Unfortunately, I don't really have access to any sort of global models here as far as like looking at areas like this. So at this point, I'll be spectating just like the rest. But this is an interesting track here. It's been kind of fun so far to watch Danielle do what she's been doing. So in the meantime, I mean, we pretty much know what to expect here as far as the track is concerned and the intensity. But we'll go ahead and take one more look. Yeah, confidence is definitely increased. UK looks like you guys are out of the woods here for this one for right now. But I'd say maybe Spain and Portugal, you're gonna have to start watching this a little bit. Not necessarily as a major threat, more so just by the simple fact that this will affect the weather for within the next week or so, I would say. All right, so we've covered our three storms that are close to home and well, also I guess close to the English Channel. Let's go ahead and get an idea of what else might be lurking out there. We still have those. Oh wait, we did not cover the two tropical waves that we have in the Gulf, that we have in the Atlantic as well. So there's been a little bit of an upgrade here. This storm right here has now been upgraded to a 70% chance of development, and it's looking like it's going to have to do so pretty quickly. Otherwise, we won't. Otherwise, we'll be watching this thing fall apart shortly after. Once we get to about this area, the upper level winds become a lot less conducive for development. So the window for this wave here is very short. Meanwhile, this one is going to be working its way into a more favorable environment, and maybe over the next few days will begin to increase the possibility of it becoming a named system. The next name in line for our hurricane season in the Atlantic would be Fiona. If I were a betting man, I would put my money on this, obviously, for a number of reasons. Just it's a little more mature than this storm, and then it's in a favorable environment right now. There's no real reason as to why I don't think this would eventually develop into a weak tropical storm at best, or at the very least. It could form into something a little bit more than that, but it's not going to last. So, right before we do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and go to the satellite imagery real quick. Okay. So we're going to go to Invest 95L. Let's go to the IR, the infrared here. Oh wow, that's a big picture right here. It's my first time also using tropical tidbits in this manner, which is interesting. Normally I try to use, normally I'll use pivotal weather, but I kind of forgot to pull up the window. It's just some rookie stuff I've been doing recently on here. I'm just having to adjust everything. But you can clearly see that we're getting some convection here on the south side. We had some convection pop up earlier. I do expect to see more because this is a pretty active time around this region in regards to thunderstorm development. I never can really nail down the exact time zones as far as being in the Central Atlantic. I would assume Atlantic Standard Time. So if I were to go back maybe about 5 6 hours, I'd say it's about maybe 3 p.m. Maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But this is not surprising to see a lot of thunderstorm activity around this storm. We don't really have any sort of defined area of circulation or concentrated area of low pressure just yet. I do think that will change within the next 48 hours, though. And then we will go ahead and take a look at. Hang on a minute. Dang it! I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to find the next invest. This is over towards the Pacific. Both of these are. So I guess we don't have anything there yet. I guess we'll just move on ahead then. Alright, so we'll start out close to home. Just try to see if there's any sort of pieces of energy that will end up in the Caribbean. We'll start out with the 12Z Euro ensemble and go from there. We'll have to reload that real quick. Alright, here we go. So we'll roll this along. Oh, I've hit the wrong button. That's what that was. Here's that little interesting feature here that I keep talking about that's hanging just off the Gulf. No chance of it developing, but it could bring some flooding rains to the southeast, so be watchful of that. And I'll have to be watchful of it as well because this is in my neck of the woods. Oops, hitting the wrong button again. Uh-oh. So we're looking around to see if there's any sort of low pressures here, because they'll pop up in red here, and usually the higher the number, the greater the chance of low pressure developing is. But really, the Euro just has it extremely quiet over the Caribbean here, in the Antilles region. Okay. All right, here is another tropical wave coming about 186 hours out, if this thing will load. Keep getting a little bit ahead of this thing. I mean, you see a couple of pieces of energy floating about. Maybe this is its own tropical wave. Maybe this was a deviant path from another tropical wave that's been kicked out to sea. But at the end of the day, it's all the same. Both of these concentrated areas both look like they go out to sea. No real threats. Once we get to about 300 hours out, we really can't take too much. We can't really look too much into the credibility of any model. And we can see that there's like a little piece of energy here and a little piece of energy here that develops. High probability. It looks like they give 85% chance of a low being there. Oh wow. I've hit the wrong button again. And we'll watch these apparently try to make some kind of landfall in the Carolinas. We'll see if that's valid. That would be towards the middle, kind of heading towards the end of the month, around September 19th, September 20th. We'll see what happens with that. With it being that far out, though, I'm not going to hold my breath. Go ahead and look at the GFS as well. Go to about our current time. Okay. So here's Earl again. Now with the GFS ensemble, we usually get a more aggressive look. We normally get more aggressive looks from it, so this is definitely gonna look a little bit different, I think. So we do get a couple of pieces of energy that form up in the Gulf, in the Caribbean and into the Gulf here, but nothing really concrete. For the most part, these two models here are looking pretty well aligned, I would say. Now towards the end here, when we get to about 384 hours out, it's kind of showing a similar look. Maybe a few pieces of energy getting a little bit closer to the U.S. Hard to really, again, with as far out as it is towards the end of this run as well, not much credibility to be had, but it's still something to watch. Now let's go out to the Atlantic. We're just going to probably see a bunch of different pieces of energy floating about. So we'll move this along. Here's one tropical wave, here's another, and then another popping off here. I mean, we're going to be, we don't expect this to stop putting out tropical waves around the West African coast anytime soon, I would say. I also wouldn't expect this steering pattern to change anytime soon. So the threat to land, it's not too high, honestly. If we're gonna have an active hurricane season, this is the kind of pattern you would actually want. One that just steers every sort of major threat away from major land masses, mostly just fish storms. But this is all I got for you guys for now. I will probably make another video tomorrow. Shout out to the guy who had corrected me about the whole Cabo San Lucas thing. Hate that this is another 20-minute video, but I appreciate you guys watching. This has been Tire Metalhead Weatherman. If you like what I did here, like, comment, share, and I will see you next time.